Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. We're about to get started. If I get one, take the seat. We're about to get started. Oh, this is nice. Everybody just like quiet, got ready. Cool. Awesome. Hi, I'm Wayne Sutton, head of community and events at Convex. Welcome. Thanks for coming out tonight for, I would say, a special event, DX and databases for startups that scale with our friends and colleagues at PlanetScale and Chalk. But I want to kick things off and hand it off to James, our co-founder and CTO, for a few words. James.
Thank you, Wayne. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. I didn't know I was going to say anything, so I have nothing prepared. So this is our office here. So firstly, thanks for coming to our office. This is not going to be, I don't think, a huge sales pitch today because we want you all to have a good time and not be inundated with sales pitches. So let me give you a sales pitch. Firstly, we're hiring right now. If you want to have a job doing stuff that marries databases and DX, this is the place to do it, right? Or I'm sure Chalk and PlanetScale are excellent places to do it as well, right? And the second thing, hey, if you want to use a great backend as a service, we got you covered. And we're also big fans of PlanetScale because if you're using Convex, you're also using PlanetScale. We'll be hanging around. I think there's lots of Convex folks here. Feel free to hit us up with any questions. Otherwise, there's a panel right here, so you turn over to them.
Thanks, James. I'm like, James is in the building. Let's give James the mic. Awesome. As James mentioned, yes, we're going to have a great panel tonight, but kicking things off first is two talks. Up first is Ben, developer educator at PlanetScale. Ben.
All right. James said no sales pitches, so I got to change my whole talk now. Sorry, guys. So yes, like Wayne said, thank you for the intro. I'm Ben. I'm from PlanetScale. And today what I want to talk about is databases. Who recognizes this? You've all seen this word before. And it's a very fitting word for tonight because Convex is a great database company and PlanetScale is a great database company. But more particularly, I'm learning how to use the clicker. Hold on. I'm not Steve Jobs. I'm not a natural at this. So particularly, I want to talk to you about the best relational database in the world. Which one is that? Not Postgres. Postgres is great, isn't it? So one of the things at PlanetScale, that's where I'm from, our aim is to be the best relational database platform in the world, right? We have MySQL powered by Vitess for scalability. We have Postgres. We're bringing sharding to Postgres. And our goal is to make it have the best developer experience for databases, which doesn't just mean features, doesn't just mean cool stuff, but it also includes uptime and availability and all of the things that you need to run a reliable application. And I particularly say relational here because I'm also a big fan of picking the right tool for the job, right? Like MySQL and Postgres are great. Pretty much every company needs something like that. But that's not the answer for everything, right? If you need an analytics database, you probably shouldn't use MySQL. You should probably use ClickHouse or Bigtable or something like this, right? Or if you need a full backend as a service that includes a database and auth and files and all this stuff, you probably should be using Convex. It's a great product, right? So you got to be able to choose the right tool for the job. And one of my jobs at PlanetScale is to make people know that we have a great database product and a great database platform, right? And developer education, and really, hopefully everybody, especially at small companies, help with this, right? It's like you're building a great product, but how do you make sure people know you have a great product? So let's see. I'm a developer educator, but does anybody know what I did before I was a developer educator at PlanetScale? Most of you don't know me that well. I was a what? How did you know? You're sitting right behind me when I was talking about it. So yes, before I started working at PlanetScale, I was a faculty member at a computer science department, and I taught intro Python programming, and I taught operating systems, and I taught systems programming and app development, web app development, all of this stuff, right? So I spent a number of years of my life teaching not to help market a product, not to help show people the greatest database platform in the world, but just because I really liked teaching and liked educating people, right? Does anybody know what I did before I was a faculty member? I was a student at one point, that's correct, yes. but in between the student and the faculty member. I was a database engineer. Shocker. So I worked for, it's a very small company. You probably haven't heard of it. It's called DataWare Ventures, but I was a research engineer for them. We were doing database optimization stuff. We were doing our proof of concept on like Postgres version 8 or 9, so a nice little throwback. And I did all kinds of like performance testing, performance tuning, all these different things for them. And so I have experience as an engineer, particularly working for a database company. I have experience as an educator, and now I get to blend those two things together as a developer educator at a database company, right? So kind of a unique set of skills. I don't know very many people that have taken this path in their life, but I think it's working out pretty well. So when I think about, I advanced the slide too early, when I think about what I want to bring to developer education for PlanetScale, and really just in general, there's a couple of things that I think about that is influenced a lot by my experience in these previous roles. One is, I want to make content that is really excellent, right? Like, it's very easy to make subpar content these days. You can push out an AI slot blog posts with a couple clicks of a button. It's not that hard. And we've probably all seen them and read them and turned away after the first couple sentences. And we realized a human didn't write this, right? And I'm not just talking about that, but what I'm talking about is like building things that people genuinely appreciate the quality of and the value of, and then that gets associated with the brand you're trying to build for your company, right? So excellent content, engaging content. One of the interesting things, and there's probably not a lot of teachers in the room, but from my experience as a faculty member, there's these sort of two camps of how you teach a course. One is called Sage on the Stage. Does anyone heard that term before? Sage on the Stage? That's kind of like what I'm doing right now. That means someone stands up and talks to you and explains concepts and all of this stuff. But the other is active learning or flipped learning, which is a lot more, when you're in a classroom, you are engaging your students, you are doing activities, you're coming up to people, you're working with people, right? And so I've kind of tried a little bit to bring that to what I do in terms of, I make some blog posts that are actually interactive and people get to not just read, but learn interactively. Doing streams where people get to ask questions, right? Like, that's something I'm a big fan of, is like engaging with the direct questions that the audience has. And finally, making stuff that's actually valuable. And I think this is one of the most important things for me, is anytime somebody comes to PlanetScale's website, reads an article, reads a tweet from us, watches a video about like our product, I want to make sure that even if they're not a customer, that they got some kind of value out of that, right? That helped make them a better engineer, more knowledgeable about MySQL, Postgres, scaling, sharding, Vitess, all of these things. So, how much time do I have? I forgot to start my timer. Can I just keep rolling for the next hour? I've got like 30 more slides. No, I'm kidding. I'm almost done. So what I was trying to think about is, the theme of tonight was DX and databases, right? So we have databases, and we want to make them have great developer experience, which kind of encapsulates a lot of different things. But in my role as a developer educator, part of what I do is, like I said, helping people understand what is PlanetScale, how does it have a great developer experience, and these kind of things. So the three things that I really like to do when I'm helping do this is, first of all, show, don't tell. A great example of this is, did anyone see when we launched Postgres GA a few months ago, we did a bunch of benchmarking compared to other companies, Postgres performance. I was the one who did all of those benchmarks. And I'm very thankful that I had the ability to pour hours into trying to do fair benchmarking, interesting benchmarking, benchmarking that shows off PlanetScale Metal, which is a very high performance database platform that we have. And we could have just said like, hey, we're like a super fast Postgres database. And that's cool, but what really tells the story is when you actually show how you compare to all the other options somebody might be considering, right? I think that's really valuable. The second thing, in my opinion, is going deep, and I actually want to shout out the other Michael, who's not here tonight, I think, but who makes videos for your guys' Convex channel, because I was watching a video on something like what is Convex, or how does Convex work behind the scenes with transactions on your YouTube channel. And it was like 20 minutes, and he went very deep into all of the different problems that Convex solves for you with synchronization, with transactions, with managing conflicts when there's multiple things trying to affect the same row. And I left that going, oh, I actually feel like I understand this. Whereas if I just heard like, Convex is great, it has sync and all of this stuff, I'd be like, cool, I still don't get it. So an engineering audience, when we're building tools for developers, I want personally, and I think a lot of people agree, want content where I actually leave understanding what is going on, right? And then finally, stand out, make really excellent content that associates positively with your brand, right? I think, and again, this isn't just for like developer education people, this is for everyone. This is for founders of small companies, this is for even engineers at the company. Personally, I want PlanetScale to be associated with excellent engineering, really high quality databases, really great uptime, really talented engineering. And if you can put out blogs, videos, educational content that associates that with your brand, that helps create that image. And it's true, we have incredibly talented engineers, but you have to have a way to express that to the people that are coming to your company for your service. So that's actually all I have to say. I'm Ben, it's been great talking, and I'll be back up here in a few minutes, so thanks everybody. I think next, are you talking? Or are we going straight to you? Okay, cool.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Michael. I'm one of the DevX engineers at Convex. Real quick, I just want to give Ben a round of applause. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Ben. That was great. My slides are not as pretty, so I apologize in advance. But I did throw in a couple of memes, so hopefully I can make up for that. So, question I really want to answer is, why do we need DevX? And it's a simple answer. Because devs need to know about your product. That's my presentation. Thank you, everybody. I'm joking. I have more. Clickers this way. So I actually want to define what DevX is, and I tried to Google, I tried to use ChatGPT. It didn't make sense to me, so I'm going to use an analogy. When I grew up as a kid, we would have these family gatherings at my family's house, and there were always two tables. There was the adults table, and there was the kiddie table. And there was that age where you would graduate from the kiddie table and go to the adults table. That was like the best time ever. And everyone who graduated from the kiddie table to the adults table was always the person who would relay information to the kiddie table. Oh, this is what they do, this is what they talk about, this is what they eat. And it would be in a way where we would understand. Usually the graduation age in my family is like 14 to 18. Past 25, you're basically an unk. And like I said, they would relay information from the adult table to the kiddie table in a way that made sense. And that's how I think of my job. There are talented engineers in Convex building something amazing, and I have to translate that information in a way that makes sense, in a way that's captivating. So that's how I define DevX. The more legitimate version is it's a bridge between the users and the business, but you already knew that. So there are different ways to do DevX. Ben talked about some. I really want to talk about video. I think that's where I excel at, that's where I'm good at, and that's what I sort of enjoy. So I want to share some secret sauce as to how I think about dev content. And really there are two types of videos. Now I'm not going to use any fancy marketing terms because honestly I don't even know what the terms mean. So the first style of video is what I call hi, nice to meet you videos. And I've done a couple of these, and like just these two videos alone have done over 500K in views. Both were for Convex. And the goal of these type of videos really is to have people who've never checked you out, or maybe have heard your name but don't really know what you do, to know about you. It's that initial introduction. And things to understand, or like what the focus should be for these style of videos, is the packaging is important, right? Like you need to make me want to click. If it doesn't look, if the initial impression is not pretty, I'm not clicking. It needs to grab my attention, and that's what allows me to continue to watch that. That's what makes me want to watch. And then I truly believe storytelling is key, and this is what makes me finish a video. A lot of people will throw crazy budgets at videos, and they look nice, but it's boring, right? There's no plot. You just spend a lot of money on camera gear. Good job. But it doesn't really deliver. People are not watching it to the end. And a funny example, anybody here know Theo? He loves to ruffle some feathers. One time in particular, he quote tweeted someone who was talking about this channel that had the best Haskell tutorial. Anybody write Haskell code? I didn't think so. And essentially the videos were like in detail, they were like knowledgeable, but they were packaged so poorly, nobody was watching. In fact, the only time they really got views was because he quote tweeted the tweet. I say that to say, packaging is more important than you think. You can have the best information, you can be the most knowledgeable, but if you don't deliver it in a silver platter, it does not matter. And this is, in particular, very important for these style of videos I just mentioned, the hi, nice to meet you. I think the marketers call this top of funnel. But then there are the edutainment videos, right? These are the educational videos where you go in deeper. But I truly believe, even with these videos, as technical as you want to be, there needs to be this... you need to make it fun. There needs to be a reason for me to watch it. I love watching technical videos, but I also don't want to be bored. I think there's a great intersection that can be discovered through practice, where you can create something that's very educational, but also engaging to watch. And these two videos for a specific YC startup that I did, I kid you not, took it from 5 figures ARR to 7 figures ARR. I wish I owned stock. That being said, these edutainment style videos are for people who are already familiar. They're users. And one of the biggest mistakes I've seen people make, companies make, is this assumption that just because someone uses your product, they know everything about it. For example, I joined Convex, I think 4 weeks ago. And I joined Convex 4 weeks ago, and 2 weeks ago I realized, oh, we can do cron jobs. And I've been using Convex for maybe 6 to 8 months. Like to the core. And I just discovered coming here, like, oh, we can do cron jobs. I don't think anybody knows about this. So we can't make the assumption that just because people use their product, know the full capabilities or the full power of it. And also you should make content to flex and show off new features. Now, I like to think of being a DevX engineer like being and building a relationship. First impressions are very important. There's this phrase I came up with on the flight. It was a very turbulent flight, and I was by the exit seat, so I thought I was going to die, but we're all here. And folks come for the cool, but they stay for authenticity. What do I mean by that? Whenever you create content, it needs to be captivating. It needs to be engaging. It needs to be, dare I say, fun. But that's not what people stay for. They stay for the authenticity, for the deep dives, for the deep technical videos like Ben creates. And it's very important for us to realize the combination of, let me just go back here, hi, nice to meet you videos and the edutainment videos, I think is a perfect combination to showcase to engineers, users, that your product is amazing. I do sort of want to end this off with a quick story of mine, because I know there are some people who are considering doing DevX, and hopefully this inspires you. Now, in my dev career, I've only been a dev. This is the first time in, I would say, the last 4 weeks I've been DevX. And this is how my journey follows. I started studying computer science at Ryerson University. This is in Toronto, Canada. Anyone ever been to Toronto? Okay, so y'all know. Beautiful city, best city in the world. Unfortunately, I dropped after my second year, and I just became the ultimate hustler. I was flipping sneakers. I would like hire someone from Fiverr and then arbitrage. Like if there was anything legal to do, I did. I kid you not. I've sold water outside, like in the bucket outside, like stadiums. Like I've done it all. But in August 2022, I don't know why. I couldn't tell you the reason. I decided to self-learn again. I decided to write code again. And boy, did I fall in love. It was like art. It felt like a new hobby. And I literally could not stop. So from August 2022, and I want you to mind the dates, because the dates are very important. From August 2022 to October 2022, I would literally write 5 to 7 hours of just writing code, building stuff, reading documentations. I was in. And then in October, I felt like, you know what? I'm knowledgeable enough to get a job. But at the same time, I'm like, it probably would help if I had some sort of certification. So I made the greatest mistake ever. I decided to join a coding boot camp. And to join this coding boot camp, I had a specific amount of money in my bank account. I spent all of it. I was completely all in. And it was great, though. I had a great time. I learned a lot. I had a sick demo day project. Everything was looking cool. But 2 days before I was, quote unquote, graduating, this happened. Layoffs. Google, Microsoft, everybody's laying off. And my prospects of a job went to zero. I went from this is how happy I was, to this. But it didn't end there. If you thought that was bad, it got worse. This came out the very day I graduated. The very day. I asked it to write code and it did, and I'm like, yeah, I'm cooked. And this was me that day. But I did not give up. I had that dog in me. So for 1 year, from the moment I graduated, for 1 year, I literally could not get a job, but I couldn't stop shipping. I was just writing code. And I launched a startup, and it did pretty well. We did like $3 million in revenue in 2023, and I thought I made it. At peak, we had about 150,000 active users. Looking back, I don't even know how we were able to serve that amount of customers. The dropout, the boot camp grad finally did it. But then something else happened. I left my own startup, and I left with no equity, no cash. Now you might ask, why would you do that? That's the dumbest thing in the world. I started it with some friends, and unfortunately we started to get into disagreements. And me not knowing business, I was like, you know what, friendship is better than this. I just left. I kind of regret it. But I now felt like I had the skills and proof that I could get a job. It felt like I could get a job. And I started applying, but it was crickets. Sorry, wrong one. So during this tough economic job situation, I decided to create content. And not because I wanted to be famous on YouTube. It was my strategy to send the videos to the recruiters so that they can watch the videos and be like, not only is this guy handsome, but he's also smart. But that didn't happen. I started posting these videos and people started to tell me, oh, that actually made sense. I noticed that I had the ability to make difficult concepts easy to understand. And with all this happening, I was still writing code every single day. And then finally, an engineering manager liked my videos and I got a job. I forgot to mention that I got a referral. So it wasn't really the videos, it was the referral plus the video. I say this to say I contributed very much to the company and it felt great. And then I worked at a YC startup, contributed directly to its growth, built awesome features, and now I'm at Convex, but as a DevX engineer. Why? Now here's a corporate answer because James is right there. I'm excited about Convex's mission to simplify back-end development. The way Convex abstracts away complexity for front-end engineers resonates with me because I've seen firsthand how back-end boilerplate slow teams down. And then I have another one just in case that one didn't work. But truly the real answer is I loved the product. I used Convex so much that I did a hackathon a couple months ago and I used it end-to-end. I think I used almost every feature except the cron stuff because I didn't even know it existed. And I won, and I had such a deep understanding for the product. This was one product I wanted to contribute to. Another thing is I got to meet Wayne and Jamie, and both of them were cool people. And I highly recommend if you have options and you can pick where to work, I think the people who you work with really matter, and you have to actually kind of like them. The team is full of smart people. I've never felt dumber in my life. And the ultimate truth is I want to learn. There are only so many divs you can center, so many web applications you can optimize for speed. There were so many things like system architecture, API design, and scale that I wanted to learn that, unfortunately, the bootcamp did not teach me. So in my experience, the best way to learn is to teach. And I'm not going to lie, I'm also pretty bullish on Convex. I think we're going to make it, so I joined the team for that reasons. So if you want to get into DevX, my big suggestion for you is to start creating content. It's probably going to suck. It's probably gonna bomb, but just like the gym, you have to get your reps in. And if you want to find great people, great DevX people, the strategy is simple. You just find smart yappers on X and YouTube. It takes about 1 hour a day of research. All that to say, I was able to do this in 1 year. And you can too. All you need is that dog in you. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome, awesome. Appreciate you. Yep, great. Let's give it one more time for Ben and Michael. Thank you, Ziada. All right, now it's time for our esteemed panel, and I have a pleasure to introduce you to the moderator, Gabriella, and who's amazing and who I've known for years. So Gabriella is the founder of F02 Labs, where she delivers AI strategy and developer relations as a service to help startups accelerate visibility, product adoption, and market awareness. Previously, director of AI at Microsoft, she advises hundreds of startups on building with AI and driving real adoption, and earlier led AI strategy and open source initiatives at IBM. Gabriella also founded Our Ladies and AI Inclusive, global communities empowering over 200K members. Her career spans research, startups, and big tech across software, healthcare, finance, open source, and advising. Always focused on bridging innovation with real-world execution. She also invests in and advises startups. It's my pleasure to introduce Gabriella. Awesome. All right, let's give you this one. Awesome. And one second.
Can I say something? It's not working yet. Yes. Well, it's such a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited to be with Wayne and two of you and Melanie that is coming. Hey, you inspired me so much, and I go to a lot of meetups here in San Francisco, and we need more of this, of the talks that you just gave. This is the real talk, so thank you so much. So to join me on the stage again, first I'll call Melanie, and everybody will introduce themselves. Ben and Michael, please come on stage. Let's have some fun. I have some questions, but I go off script, so be careful. I'll be careful for the questions, but I would love, Melanie, for you to introduce yourself, and then we pass to Ben, and then Michael.
All right. Can you hear me? Yes. I'm Melanie. I'm a feature engineer. I'm a forward deployed engineer is my current title. I know we've talked a lot about titles. We have a bunch of DevX people. I'm subbing in for a developer advocate today. And as a forward deployed engineer, at Chalk AI, I help our customers onboard onto our feature platform and basically onboard their models and enable all of their new use cases. So a little bit on the sales side, but also very much I write all of our docs as well. So very much on the DevX side as well.
I feel you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Ben. You've already heard some from me, so you know a little bit of my background. But yeah, I do developer education at PlanetScale. And yes, I do everything from writing docs, creating video content, and a bunch of other stuff behind the scenes too, involved in sales a little bit, the whole gamut.
I'm Michael. Nice to meet you all again. Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm a DevX engineer. I create content, I build apps, and I try to push Convex to the limits. I'm pretty sure I'm over my free tier, but I work here, so that's not a problem.
You know, one of the things that got me thinking a lot with your presentation about like being a developer educator and then DevX engineer, and we have so many different names. We have the developer advocate. You have the developer relation. You have developer relation engineer. Can you talk a little bit about like this distinction, if there is any? Like, what is the? Because I feel like they all overlap in some capacity, but they have different titles. Like, what would you say is like the main difference, if there are differences?
Yeah, I can go. I think there are definitely like different camps of, I'll just say DevX for ease of use. There are those who are great at writing, and then you have the community builders, and then you have people who also do like video content. I think rarely do you find someone who's good at all three unless you're a Ben. So I think like that's how I kind of look at DevX people. Like the goal is the same, but the medium through which you achieve the goal is sort of different. And it's based on like what skill that person possesses.
Anything to add?
Yeah, well, I'll just say too, like at least in my head, I think the role, like it varies from company to company, right? Like what you're actually doing. In my head, there's a very loose, like the developer advocacy side is a little bit more focused on like community building and these kinds of things, whereas the education side is a little bit more of the docs and teaching people how to use the product and all of that. But at least in my experience, education is where I have the most experience, and so I like to build the community through educational things, right? Like doing live streams like we were talking about, right? And you know, even doing like a book reading club of designing data intensive applications, like these kind of things. Like I use education as a way to build the community essentially. So it's kind of all hybrid, depends on how you want to define it.
Awesome. And then Melanie, you talked about being a forward deployed engineer, which is also like the new terminology that we are using for some of like roles that we had in the past, but it's more like a mix. Can you also like define a little bit, if you can, if there is a definition of like what it means?
Yeah, I think that forward deployed engineering came from Palantir, is where everyone was familiar with the term. And it came from this concept where it was sort of like consulting, where your customers require a lot of onboarding, and it kind of, the problems that they encounter are more technical. So you really need a person with an engineering background to go there, solve the problems, help them onboard, and even build new products and features that they might need to onboard onto your platform. I think that the forward deployed engineering concept is becoming more widespread today. I would say that for me, I struggle with titles because my title used to be machine learning engineer for the same role, and now I'm a forward deployed engineer. I wouldn't be surprised if in 1 year I have another title as well. So I think for me, I would say that just being an engineer, and I think like both of you are engineers as well, right? I think you would call yourselves engineers. I think that being an engineer means that you have some form of all of these things, of the advocacy, the education, being involved in the community, and I think that a core part of being an engineer is designing products and thinking with your audience in mind. So I think that in that way, yeah, I guess forward deployed engineer is my current title. I would take any.
Who knows what is coming like tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Or like in the next few months. And then you two talked about like, you know, being a developer educator, developer experience engineer. What advice would you give to anyone that is here in the audience watching us on like they want to follow the same trajectory or like being the same developer educator or developer experience? Is there any path or anything that you should know? I feel like each person has their own path, so there is no like, oh, you should do this, but like what are some of like the skills or even like curiosity? What are some of the traits that you feel like people should go and do it and have it so they can go for this type of career?
Yeah, I'll start and you can follow up. One of the things I would say is I actually came into this role having zero marketing experience. Like I don't think of myself as a marketer. So one of the things that I like and appreciate is surrounding yourself with people that do know what they're doing, and then you learn from them. Like Holly is my boss at PlanetScale, and I've learned a lot about product marketing from her, and then combining that with educational experience, right, to like make great experiences for like our customers. And then the other thing, I'll steal your line, which is like you're going to suck at first. I made lots of stuff that sucked at first because just like creating content is kind of hard, and you have to like learn how to get a feel for like what people actually appreciate about your product and like what's going to engage them. And so like keep trying basically is like a big part of it.
Yeah, Ben pretty much said everything. But to add to that, I think to start, I would just start thinking out loud. Like, just say you want to explain sync, right? Like, I think objectively, if you're a developer, you know what sync is, but can you actually explain what it is, right? So thinking out loud, maybe like writing some notes, and then just like talking, right? Like the first few times doesn't have to be good. Like my first few videos are 100% unlisted and will stay that way because they were terrible. So I think just embracing the fact that it's going to be terrible, and it's like going to the gym, you just got to hit the reps, and thinking out loud and practicing and understanding that at some point, whether short or long, you are going to get better. That's how I think of it. So thinking out loud is what I would say.
No, I love that because especially in the beginning, people think like, oh, I just got 1 like, so it's not going to work. This thing is not for me, right? So, but it's a lot of like consistency. It's like going to the gym. You have to go one day and then the other and then the other, and then you start building this muscle, right?
Yeah, my first few views were my mom and my brother, so like it just part of the game.
Awesome. And now of course, we have to talk about AI. But with AI and the future of software engineer roles, like what do you see the AI impact on the developer experience in terms of like productivity, skills, and shipping? And that goes to everybody. Like how do you see AI being a role, a pivotal role in this whole ecosystem?
Oh man.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the impact.
You're a former
it has.
machine learning engineer.
Yeah.
You should probably start this one, right?
Or maybe AI engineer.
Chalk is the AI infra platform. So I think that the main changes that I've seen, it's even in the past 6 months. I think that there's a lot of recency here. In the past 6 months, the customers that we work with have gone from most people used to use IntelliJ and VS Code. Now, like 80% of the people that I work with use Cursor or Augment or some version of one of these IDEs. And I think that there's been a big shift in the market where people are now sort of relying on AI tooling to search documentation, to write their code. And there's a sort of shift in the way that people work, where people have started using AI as a tool to sort of parallelize the stuff. I think a lot of engineers that I work with now run like Claude in the terminal. They have maybe like a cursor agent run going on in their IDE, and they just have a bunch of stuff going on in the background. So yeah, I think there's a lot of AI slop going around, but I also think that there are ways to build new tooling. So in the same way that like back in the day, like people got faster and faster at writing code over the past few decades, right? And now we're building new tooling for this new era of AI. And I think that a lot of the AI slop just means that you have to be more careful about your system design choices, and you also have to be more careful about your testing and your frameworks. And I don't think it's necessarily, this is not like a hot take. This is like a cool take at this point. Like, I don't think that it is a bad thing for productivity. I think it is purely positive for productivity. I just think it is a new era of development that has changed the way that we now think about docs and development and even like developer experience. We design for different things now.
Yeah, I would, just the thing I would add to that is like, I've experimented with a lot of different ways of using AI to develop, as I'm sure we all have, right? From full on like let Claude Code just rip and like implement an entire thing for me, to just using it as a separate tool and copying and pasting little snippets of code, to like Cursor I've been using a lot more recently. And I'm a pretty firm believer that even though AI is amazing and it has accelerated my productivity, you still have to be in the driver's seat and like know what you're doing, right? Like it's too easy to let an AI just like write a bunch of garbage code and then it confuses itself and then it doesn't have the right context and then it can't, and then you get stuck basically, right? So that's my take, is like you really still should fundamentally understand what you're doing, but it accelerates a lot of the tedious parts, right, and boring parts. And this is probably a lot of our similar experiences that we've gone through over the past year or so. Yeah.
Those both were good points. I think I almost have contradicting points. So at first,
Spicy.
I hate AI. And the reason why, let me land. The reason why I hate it is because, like I said, writing code to me feels like an art. And I feel like for the sake of speed, I've been robbed. That's a personal thing. But to answer the question from the business side, I do agree that, yes, productivity has definitely boosted. You don't have to waste time searching, deep linking, Stack Overflow articles just to find that one answer. So I definitely think there is an increase in productivity, but there's also an increase in AI slop. I think the one thing Microsoft got right is naming their AI agent, which was Copilot. I think it's a perfect name. It is a Copilot. You're in the front, you are the pilot, and that's the Copilot. So it is an exciting time. I mean, I love seeing non-technical people build applications. Like, it's just fun to see someone's ideas come to life and then be excited about it. I think there's a different level of dopamine when you build something, you see it come to life. But from a personal perspective, I hate that I kind of have to use it. But it's cool though.
Yeah, I was reading, I think it was today, about how engineers and software engineers and people in general are using AI to write a lot of their code, but they still have to review, and there are a lot of aspects and pieces that they have to rewrite. And the piece that works very well, it's like all the boilerplate or maybe unit testing, things that were very repetitive, and they were not like the fun, I would say, part. And AI is being used for that in particular. But I do agree. It's like all the fun now, it's like AI, take the fun and do it for me. And we are like, okay, now I have to review, which is like not the fun part, I guess. So like, and Michael, you were talking about actually what's been that you have your manager who is more knowledgeable about marketing, and you have probably like several people in the company that you have to interface. I feel like all of you. How do you ensure that there is a smooth transition or conversation, and like that they understand what you are doing and you understand what they are doing, and where is the line between the roles and responsibility, and how do you work across all these different roles, like maybe data scientists, maybe ML engineers, maybe you work with some DevOps or MLOps, AIOps. How do you work with these different teams and different people?
Yeah, so I think at PlanetScale we have. I was trying to think while you were talking, a couple of different like company values that we have on our website. One of them is no passengers, and one of them is experts leading experts. And particularly the second one, kind of the idea is like everybody at the company should be an expert in something, right? Even you might not be the CEO or whatever, right? But like you're like given a lot of responsibility and given a domain, and like a lot of trust is put in that, right? So it's not a company where we micromanage. It's not a company where it's like, oh, we're constantly worried about what you're doing. It's like all the people in the company like love what they do and are really good at it and are very motivated to like do well at it. And so that's one of the things, like we have a very small but like really talented marketing team at PlanetScale. And I don't say that to toot my own horn, I say that to toot all the other people's horns, but like, and a lot of us just like have certain things that we know we're good at, and we do, and we trust each other to like get those jobs done. So, and it's very similar in our engineering organization and all aspects, so. I think that answered your question, kind of, yeah. But
I mean, the only thing I would add is I think it's definitely going to be a challenge at first, but that's where the learning happens. I think when you're like DevX, the opportunity that you have is you have a legitimate excuse to talk to everybody. And that's fantastic. You get to learn from everybody. So even though it might be difficult at first, especially if it's your first time, I would say use it as an opportunity to learn, because that's what I'm doing.
And Michael, you were talking about layoffs and the whole hiring, and I want to share here. I was part of like a big layoff at Microsoft, and you mentioned that. So like, no one is immune to like all the layoffs that are happening, but at the same time, there are so many like different opportunities happening, which, by the way, for startups that are hiring in the developer experience space, what should they look for in software engineer or storyteller? And are you hiring at your company, by the way?
we are, yeah.
We are as well.
We are also hiring.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so tell me a little bit like what are you looking for if you are hiring a forward deployed engineer? What are you looking for in terms of like skills and?
I can start with this one. Chalk is hiring for every role. We have offices in SF, LA, and New York, and we just want smart people. I think that at any company that is growing really fast, there are going to be an abundance of things to do, and whether that is marketing or sales or engineering or forward deployed engineering or developer advocacy or education or even various operations things, there's always going to be something to do. So as long as you're smart and you're hungry and you're fun to work with, I think we'd love to have you.
Cool. how about like the developer experience? Is there any role in PlanetScale or anything?
Yeah, we're hiring a bunch of stuff. I mean, we're hiring lots of database people, Postgres people, people to work on sharded Postgres and database orchestration. But we are also hiring for developer education. And kind of what we're looking for, right, are people that really deeply love and understand databases and are excited to like work really hard and make great stuff and help our customers. So, and the other thing that I kind of like about PlanetScale is like, it's not just create content. It's like we interface with our customers. I give customer demos. I sometimes take IDC calls. Like I do a bunch of different stuff, and it's very fun to be able to interface with the customer and then directly translate into that into like how can we improve our messaging to all of our other customers based on this feedback that we just got. But we're hiring. Yes, that's a long way of saying it.
Yeah, I share the same sentiment. We're hiring too. DevX, all roles, join us. But I think what I would look for and what I think would make someone stand out is someone who has like an itch to learn. Like you want to learn new things and you want to teach. You like tinkering. Like one of the reasons why I wanted to join Convex is, especially as a DevX person, is now I have an excuse to build all those side projects I've dreamed of. Right? If you are a side project person, you want to build thousands of them, they'll probably never make any money. That is the best thing to do, and I get paid doing that. So if you're someone like that, you love to tinker and you like to think out loud, or at least you're willing to think out loud, I think, yeah, DevX is a great place, and Convex is hiring. You can either shout me or the boss Wayne.
Awesome. I have a few more questions, but before I go there, I want to know if the audience has any questions. This is your time to. Should we give the oh yeah, we have this.
We have the cube.
The cube.
Easy one. We're really fast. Well, there's a number of things. The more serious answer. So one of the things, and this is one of my favorite parts about working for PlanetScale right now, is that we do both MySQL, this is powered by Vitess for sharding and all that, and Postgres. And part of the reason why I love that is because now I can compare and contrast MySQL and Postgres in a way where people don't just think, oh, well, he's just saying nice things about MySQL because they don't do Postgres, right? Like there's some things MySQL is generally way better at. There's some things Postgres is genuinely way better at. So that's one of the things, right? It's the scalability, right? It's the sharding, it's PlanetScale Metal, and it's just a lot of the kind of developer experience stuff that we talked about, I think sets us apart very well. So that's a great question.
Thank you. And I just want to mention one more thing. So difference between Supabase and PlanetScale, if you want to go with all these built-in tools like authorization and like storage and other stuff, I think it's better to move from Supabase to Convex rather than like a Supabase.
I agree. I agree.
I mean,
round of applause.
Yeah, because I was a heavy user of Supabase, and then I discovered Convex through T3, right? Theo. And
through Theo, yeah.
Yeah, Theo. So, and then I love Supabase right now and Convex. And it's amazing. Like so far, I had a great experience. And let's move to my question now. Like how often do you use to create a content for education with AI? I mean, for example, interactive charts, like I have recently seen your interactive how the Postgres pool works. You know, like how did you guys do that? And like, do you use AI to create educational content, like interactive in a way?
Is this question for me specifically?
Yes, specifically,
okay.
yeah.
You're looking at me. Do you mean the thing that came out today, the blog post
Exactly,
about processes and threads? So like that's a great example of that one blog post was like over 6,000 lines of code. Actually, a bunch of it was SVG, but it was like a couple thousand lines of code just to like write a blog post.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That was a lot of cursor. So like I said, I'm in the driver's seat. I'm still writing code, but there's a lot of tedious things with getting animations just right and all this kind of stuff. That cursor helps, increase efficiency a lot.
So
Yeah.
got it.
So yeah, there's a mix of both, right? Yeah.
Before speaker mentioned about want to hire about a smart person, my question about what kind of about a smart person you want to look for? Thank you.
This is for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What kind of smart people do we look for? Well, I think that maybe it seems like there are a lot of PlanetScale and Convex fans here, but maybe no one really knows what Chalk is. So maybe I should have explained that a little bit better. Chalk is the feature platform for modern machine learning. So basically what that means is that in the 2010s, there were a few different feature platforms that came about. You might know them. There are some names like Databricks and Snowflake. And they came about and they were the feature platform that was suitable for machine learning at the time. And now machine learning has evolved a little bit. Back in the day, it was all about big data and deep learning. And now it's a lot about real-time inference and making model calls live in your app endpoint. Calling stuff, updating your feed. Like TikTok wasn't around in 2010. TikTok is certainly around now. And it's not just TikTok. There are dozens of people who are making these live inference decisions, updating user stuff, updating decision models based on user transactions, user events, and a lot of high cardinality events. So basically, the problems that we are working on at Chalk are how do we enable people to make real-time inference decisions in single-digit millisecond latency? And those problems require coding well in C++ and Rust. And notably, C++ and Rust are not easy to Claude code in. So like vibe coding is great. It's hard to vibe code in Rust and C++. I don't know if people have tried, but I mean, let me know if it works for you. But I think that the thing that we are looking for is that we have people who are really interested in solving hard problems. Our engineers come from a variety of backgrounds. They come from high-frequency trading firms where they were working on sort of this stuff. They were working on performance engineering. They also come from database companies where they were working on database problems. Love database engineers, very smart people. They also come from— I do too. Yeah, well, you know, joining either company, you can choose. They also come from other backgrounds, like we have really smart salespeople. A lot of our salespeople have computer science degrees. So really what we're looking for are people who want to work on a really cool company where building the best technology really wins. And I think that's something that is unique about this panel today is I don't think that's really usually true across Silicon Valley companies. It's that a lot of times you're building a product and the best product might win, but there's also a lot of chance and there's a lot of market fluctuations. But I think it is actually true for us in these companies that building the best technology does win. So we are hiring for smart people because we want smart people to build the best product and work on the best engineering principles, the best design principles, and that is really how we win as a business. And we have hard problems to work on.
To pile it on Superbase, why you choose Convex, which uses PlanetScale also, instead of Superbase. From my personal experience, I'm getting to my question too, but I had to tell you, internal is a reserved word in Superbase. Like you can't use internal in table names. It's like really confusing why they would choose that, or database names. So just think about that. And also, it doesn't work. But, and I'm a recovering database engineer from a few companies that you all know. And my question for you all is, my name is Marcus. My question for you all is, it seems like a lot of companies operate like unions when they're adopting their infrastructure. Like they don't want to adopt something new, or like if it's not on their LinkedIn, they feel like if they adopt it, it's threatening them. Or like especially in the case of PlanetScale, I mean, it's like there are whole teams totally responsible for like manually doing, and 3 8-hour shifts around the globe what the test does in some ways, or like what PlanetScale does for sure. And so like, how do you overcome like people's worry that maybe you're taking their jobs or removing some of their autonomy? I'm just really curious about how all three of you or any one of you think about like companies adopting your infrastructure so they don't have to do the job that you do for them now. Kind of like it's a little doomerism, but.
I'll go first, and yeah, I think one good example of this is actually when we, PlanetScale, came out with PlanetScale Metal earlier this year, maybe 6 or 7 months ago. We launched that product, super high performance, really excellent performance for Vitesse and MySQL, and we released benchmarks when this happened. But at that time, we didn't support Postgres. So when we released this product, we had a bunch of companies that were on Postgres coming to us going, we're on Postgres, but we see this incredible product that you have, the high availability, the performance, all this. Maybe the company was having performance issues. Maybe their database was going down on another provider, whatever. And if the need is strong enough, they'll invest resources into migrating, even if it means changing a database, right? Like we had some companies that wanted it so bad and needed this so bad, they migrated from Postgres to MySQL, which is a lot harder than migrating just from Postgres to Postgres. That's a lot of engineering hours and all of this kind of stuff you're talking about, right? These barriers to entry. So I think a part of it is if the problem is bad enough. And guess what? Like databases are usually like the most core piece of infrastructure that most of these tech companies have. And if you're having problems with it, that affects like everything downstream, ultimately your customers, right? So I think that is one of the places where we can shine is like if we can show that we can truly solve these like infrastructure headaches or whatever it is the company has, and show them that like, yes, investing some engineering effort in moving to this is worth it because here's all the things that will get better afterward. So that's my opinion, at least in the database world, of like how do you overcome those hurdles of like doing a migration or adopting a new product.
I want to add to the one point you made when you mentioned Supabase. So when I was talking about the startup I was running, I didn't read the docs pretty clearly, and we were using Client SDK, Supabase's Client SDK. I think everybody knows where I'm going with this. And all it took was for someone to inspect Element, look at one of the endpoints, and the API key was there. So I remember just one day waking up, like, where's all the data going? And I say that to say because one of the reasons why I really like Convex is it's written in a way where I can't do that. I can't call the DB directly from the front end. I have to write a Convex function, which is fully type safe, which then calls the database. I say that all to say, to your question, I think every time a new layer of abstraction comes out, there definitely is a shift in like the knowledge required for people to have. And it's one of those where I have a friend, he has a saying, he's like, game is game, right? It's one of those where like you have to adapt, you have to learn new things. Like I remember like learning JavaScript and I'm like, I'm in love, this is perfect. And then they're like, oh, you gotta learn TypeScript. I'm like, what the heck is TypeScript? I don't need types, I can remember. And then when our application started to grow, I realized I needed TypeScript. And I think that learning curve, especially as an engineer, and I know like if you've done it long enough at some point, like there's fatigue, but as an engineer, I think you definitely have to like, as the young people would say, get with the times. And I just feel like we're entering a layer where there's like abstraction over abstraction, and I think I'm of the belief that not all abstraction is bad. Some are good, especially Convex.
The goal of Chalk is to save you time. So Cursor allows you to code faster. Chalk allows you to, instead of ETLing different tables and then creating a materialized view on top of those tables and then trying to figure out whether you're going to do a data sync or do a batch backfill, do all of that, you can just do a Chalk apply, and then you can iterate and deploy in minutes. That's the goal of Chalk. The goal it's not a doomerism. It's not really like we want to take your job. It's like we want you to work faster.
And Convex is hiring, so we're giving jobs.
Two more questions.
Question to Chalk. So I know you mentioned about AI inferencing, and like I think the popular name out there is VLLM. And how do you compete with like a very decent product, especially it being open source?
Sorry, could you repeat the name of our competitor?
VLLM for AI inferencing.
Okay. I think there are, I guess that okay.
Or you can also consider Olama.
No, I can answer this question. That's a great question. I think that we have the ML infraspace, the AI infraspace is pretty saturated with people trying to enter this feature platform market from all angles, right? There are people targeting various developers, there are people targeting enterprise organizations, and there are people
My bad.
and there are people targeting like more indie developers. So I think that there are some products where it's going to be easier for you to get off the ground if you are making your own hackathon project. And what Chalk is designed for is really to be the all-in-one feature platform for your data scientists, your software engineers, your data infra team, for everyone on your data platform at enterprise companies. That is what Chalk is designed for. So it's not just, can we do real-time inference? Yeah, there are a lot of people doing real-time inference, but we can also do the batch queries, we can do the giant batch jobs that a lot of the data warehouses do with the same or better performance. We can also we provide a feature catalog, we provide observability and monitoring and metrics. And we also are working on various other products that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but you'll see them if you follow our blog. I think that what we're building towards is we have a good paradigm for what does AI look like. We have really good design partners in our current customers, and what we're trying to do is build out and become sort of this all-in-one feature platform for AI engineers, whatever these titles become in the next few years. So your question is, like, how do you deal with the real-time inference? My answer is that is like maybe one of like dozens of things that we are working on, and we still win in terms of latency. Yeah. Okay, I saw that cringe. I'll show you a benchmark.
and then I want to add, Melanie, to your point. It's like end-to-end, where you have like specific products or open source projects that are doing one thing. You are doing the whole thing, like end-to-end. And there is a lot of like, now AI became the generalized word for everything. Like if we're doing more like traditional ML, which a lot of companies are still doing, they are not using LLMs, we need to also like accommodate for that piece of the population of companies, right? So like it's an end-to-end whole platform. It's not just one thing that is doing the AI inference, right? We have one last question.
Thanks for the very insightful panel and talks. My question is specifically for Michael. As someone who's starting to do their own content for my own startup, what tools do you use for your own content? Because they look really good. It looks amazing.
I love this. So I just bought a camera, like literally maybe 2 weeks ago, and I still don't know how to use it. Now I've had a couple of videos where I've had like a videographer come like run around with me, but I would say like my channel's at like 70K subs now. From 0 to 65, I use the MacBook webcam, and I didn't use a microphone. And I use Screen Studio subscription that I paid for once, and then I haven't updated because I think I have to pay for it again if I update. So, like I say that to say, like you'd be surprised, like if you're doing a launch video or you're about to announce something, then maybe the extra investment makes sense. I think in like your starting phase and your documentation phase, I actually think the less polished the video, the more people feel it. I think people like to support an underdog. I think we all like underdogs. Underdogs are cool. And it's kind of weird for someone to, we don't know this person, and then all of a sudden they have 4K 1080p videos. So I would like honestly just, if you you have an iPhone? Yeah. Then that camera is just as good enough. The microphone is just as good enough. You can buy a DJI if you want. I say that to say like the equipment is not like a starter at all. Like you don't even need it. Unless again, let's say you're ready to launch and you want to do a launch video, then it makes sense.
What about video editing tools?
Yeah, so I use Screen Studio itself. Like I just got the free trial to Final Cut Pro. I'm gonna put it on the Convex credit card. But like I've literally just been using Screen Studio this whole time. And it just, again, proof that you don't need the flyest and greatest gear. If anything, I feel like it's a dopamine hit where you like spend $300 on Final Cut and you're like, oh, I've done so much work, but it doesn't matter. I just literally, again, a couple days ago used Final Cut, and it probably took me longer to finish editing than it would Screen Studio. So the basics work. I think what really shines is the person. So as long as you put in time and plan, I think planning is very important. If you plan and you're thoughtful of your videos, and the honest question I ask myself is, would I watch this video? And there have been a lot of times where I put in a lot of effort and then I watch it back and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have watched this. And then I can and then I do it again. So equipment doesn't really matter. What matters is you.
Thank you.
And one more question, because I feel like
a lot of us who does content and want to do video, we think that we need the best equipment for our videos to succeed and to get a lot of views. And I love what you were saying, you don't need that. Just start simple and that's enough. But then my question to you is like, you know, with so many videos out there that they have all this production and they have all like this editing and effects, like how do you stand out from the crowds? Like how people find you and like why they should be watching you, which is more like a plain video instead of like that other video that is full of effects. I'm telling this because that's how I feel every time I'm thinking of like, I'm going to record a video and I'm like, well, I don't have the editing skills like this other person with a very perfect icon and then all the effects. And I'm like, this is going to take me forever.
Yeah, I think that's actually a fantastic question. I think you need to early on identify what your edge is. Like for some people, they're really smart, so they can explain things, and that's valuable to people because most people are not as knowledgeable as said person. So maybe your edge is that you're smart. Maybe your edge is that you're creative, right? Being able to tell a story. Anyone watch Mr. Beast videos? Kind of sometimes. Like the edge that he has is he has so much money. He'll blow up cars, drive tanks on, like you can't do that. And that's an edge, right? Some people are great editors, right? Like they're snappy, the videos are aesthetic, or some are great storytellers. And to answer your question, the way you sort of differentiate yourself is you figure out your edge by just posting a bunch of stuff that bombs. And once you start to see a bit of traction, you just double down on that. It's like crypto, but this won't go to zero if you just continue to double down. So I would say like, yeah, find your edge. Whether like, you know, if you're funny, then that's your edge. If you're like really smart, that's your edge. If you're an educator and you've taught people, that's your edge. If you're creative, that's your edge. If you are, you know, you like to sketch, then use like a sketching, like an iPad, and then share screen and do sketches. Whatever it is that will differentiate you, figure that out by testing and uploading. And once you figure it out, just double down.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael, Ben, and Melanie, for being here today. Thank you all for coming.
Let's give it up one more time for Gabriella and this amazing panel. Awesome. One couple announcements. This was recorded, so if you want to go back and watch it on a Convex YouTube channel or share it with your companies, your friends, you can do that. Also, this Friday, Convex is hosting a boba pop-up at Little Sweet. So if you want free boba, free coffee, come meet Michael.
I'm giving away boba, so pull up.
and
it's free.
Meet some founders building on Convex, come through. So it's on Luma. And thank y'all for coming. Enjoy the food and drinks, and hope to see you at the next event.
We didn't actually meet before.
Yeah.
You did great, Michael.
Oh. Give it up for PlanetScale and Chalk for co-hosting and speaking at this event as well. So shout out to PlanetScale.